Hi, my name is Cam McDonald, and I'm really excited to be here today to present our startup, Purchext, and our search for a repeatable and scalable business model. When we first started, we thought with the emergence of e-commerce and so many merchants putting their stores online, that kids did not have an easy way to make purchases. Secondly, parents did not have a way to extend credit safely to their kids, especially for these online purchases. We thought that current market offerings didn't solve this problem, and this represented a massive opportunity for us. To validate whether this is a real customer problem, we created some initial hypotheses. These consisted of parents wanted to allow their kids to securely borrow their credit card in order to facilitate these online purchases. We also thought that our customer segments would be parents and kids. We thought our value proposition would be extending credit from parents to kids. We thought that our marketplace would be an e-commerce plugin. So what we did is we did 100 initial interviews and we set a pass-fail rate of 50% in order to know if we should pursue this venture. At the conclusion of our 100 interviews, we were able to find out that this did solve a problem for the majority of customers that we talked to. So we went out and we bought sticky notes in order to build our first business model. We knew that in order to make these hypotheses and assumptions about our different elements of the canvas, we needed to do more customer testing. Looking back on it, some of the things that changed over time were we thought our revenue model would primarily be taking a transaction from merchants, and we also thought our major key partner would be a credit card company. So we set out and we did more customer discovery. This consisted of 500 more interviews. We wanted to ask more targeted questions in order to refine our value proposition. We also used other tactics such as focus groups and class talks to get different feedback and to find out if students were actually a customer segment as well. This allowed us to aggressively challenge different elements of the business model canvas. After doing these 500 interviews and hearing several horror stories, we realized that we could solve a problem. We realized that parents have no control over their kids' spending other than monetary limits. After talking to hundreds of kids, students, and teens, we realized that they wanted to be more financially independent. And a result of collecting and interpreting feedback from both segments, we realized that there was no easy communication channel between those two to facilitate this. So we took all this data and we built a more complex business model. We decided, because we were out of sticky notes, to use a virtual tool. Through this, we were able to add our different customer segments and add our corresponding value proposition for each of them. We were also able to better understand what our revenue streams might be, but we knew that there was a lot of elements of the business model canvas that at this point weren't tested. So we went out and tried to test them. We did this through building a low-fidelity minimum viable product. As a result of all of our customer feedback, we built a low-fidelity MVP. This was an e-commerce plugin which allowed parents to approve purchases after their dependent, whether that be a kid, student, or teenager, tried to purchase something online. This would integrate as an e-commerce plugin, and we were able to use this for some smoke tests. However, when we talked to merchants about our plugin, we realized that our distribution strategy was flawed, and then in order to actually implement this on a variety of different merchant sites requires to have a distribution partner. Through our prototype testing, we realized that our e-commerce solution did work to solve a customer problem, but upon asking follow-up questions, we realized that post-purchase approval wasn't the only way or even the best way to solve customer problems. The patrons or parents told us that they were comfortable extending credit if they could preset controls other than monetary limits, and that this would be easier for them and allow them to get the control that they want. As a result of testing our low-fidelity minimum viable product and interpreting the data from our now over 600 customer interviews, a lot has changed. We now know that this is not just a kids and parent segments, that our solution also solves a problem for teens and students, specifically undergraduate university students. We realize that our value proposition is not about extending credit, and in fact, that's not even a value proposition. Our value proposition is to give parents control over their financial dependent spending. We also realized that e-commerce is not even our best channel and that it's through mobile because parents pre-setting controls is even better than post-purchase approval, and this is a result of testing our MVP. In terms of the dependents or the kids, students, or teens, we realized that this will allow them to increase purchasing power, but will also teach them valuable budgeting skills, which we didn't factor in when we started. Our revenue model has seen the most dramatic change. We initially thought that our only revenue model would be to take a transaction from the merchant. After talking to dozens of merchants, we realized that they would not want to pay for this, and the revenue would come from a very small amount. However, we can charge parents for the service after them telling us that they would pay for this. But our biggest revenue model might be selling the data that we collect back to the merchants, as the merchants have told us that this would be of value. This would allow the merchants to understand who influences the purchase and who actually makes the purchase. So we have made the according changes to our business model. We have been able to at least run some sort of tests on all 9 elements of the business model. We now have a much more complex understanding of who our customer is and have used this to build detailed customer archetypes of our multi-segmented market. After receiving counsel and suggestions from several industry experts, we decided to file for a substantive provisional patent application. This is also a result of understanding that we think that we're onto something big and solve a customer problem. We also know how competitive the payment space is and that having a defensible position will help us as we enter the market. Now we are really excited to show you our product video. All the situations explained in the video are a direct result of customer feedback, and when customers have explained to us that lack of control in transferring credit to their financial dependent has represented a problem.
Purchext enables you to control your dependent's spending. Much of the time, the person purchasing is not the person paying. This happens with children and parents, between friends, and even at work. Little Jimmy wants to buy a video game from Amazon.com. He checks out on Amazon by logging into his Purchext account. Purchext sends a push notification to Jimmy's dad's phone where he can approve the purchase. Jimmy gets the game he wants, and his parents don't have to worry about a thing. Purchext has 3 options for borrowing. Unlimited access, perfect for highly trusted family members or emergencies. Preset limits of time, location, and amounts. Great for friends or gifts. And yes/no approval. Ideal for larger purchases and only works online. Purchext also works in stores with near-field communication or NFC checkout terminals. When Jimmy first goes to college and needs help to pay for groceries, his parents can add limits to his spending. This way, Jimmy's parents will know that he'll be eating well, but also be able to have an extra degree of control over his spending. When Jimmy goes to college, his parents can fly him home for Christmas with Purchext. Jimmy can choose when is best for him, and his parents can help pay for it. When Jimmy gets his first job, he can purchase on behalf of the company without the hassle of an expense report or company credit card. His boss can easily check over a very detailed company report at any time, even sorted by individual items and employees. Whether you're traveling the world, operating a business, or running to the store, Purchext simplifies your life, so you can get on with your busy day. You can sign up now at Purchext.com.
Lastly, I want to thank you for listening to this presentation. We were very fortunate to place second at Canada's National Business Model Competition, and since then, we've worked really hard to continue to test our hypotheses and refine our business model. We'd love to show you the result of this May 3rd at Harvard. Thanks.